When is it best to sand the wood? Or scrape the wood? Or plane the wood? Most of the time it depends on the ease of use. If you're working with organic rounded surfaces, sometimes it's just easier to sand it. Although a lot of times I'll come in and actually file the surface, possibly scrape it, but in this particular case I'm probably not going to get a plane in there. And that's why I say most commonly it depends on what are you most comfortable with. Any monkey can grab some sandpaper and go with the grain and clean it up, though it takes a good bit more work than most of the time. Though sanding is often the most labor-intensive method of getting a surface smooth, and it also creates a lot of dust, which means respirators, which means dust getting all sorts of other places. Whereas scraping and planing usually make curls, which don't get into your lungs and other places. But the other thing to think about is the finish that you want to use on the wood. A lot of woods like pine, maple, and other diffuse porous woods that are nice and smooth, you tend to get a lot of blotchiness when you put the finish straight onto the wood. Now you can fix that with a pre-finish that actually soaks into the wood and stops your finish from soaking in quite as much or making it more even. But you'll also get a different finish look by different ways of smoothing it out. When you sand the wood, you're creating a lot of dust, and that dust is actually working into the pores of the wood. Even with pine, there's lots of micro pores in there that the dust works into it. And the brain says, oh, that's great because it stops the finish from working in, kind of like a pre-finish. But it's actually the opposite. That dust getting in there will actually wick the finish deeper into the work, and so any place where there's pores, you're going to get more finishing. It's going to make it a little bit darker in that spot. And when you're working with maples and pines and things that get blotchy, that means some places get more finish and other places get less. And that's annoying. But you'll get a much more even coat of your finish if you use a plane on it. Which sounds fantastic. That means I always want to use a plane because I want that nice, clean, even finish. But I work with oak and other wild grain woods where I want to see the grain pop. So I want my wood to be blotchy. And so when I want that on woods that have a lot of grain and color and shape to them, in that case, I probably am going to sand it. So even if I plane it and I get a really nice planed surface on there, I'm still going to go over and sand it so that it wicks it down farther into the wood. You'll hear some woodworkers say that sanding will actually give it a bit of a surface to hold onto the finish, but it's kind of a myth. No matter what you do, there's plenty of surface on there. Even if you give it a really good plain surface, buttery smooth, you're still going to have plenty for the finish to hold on to. And that's why this whole thing is rather complex. Sanding is simple but difficult, whereas shearing the wood is plain and simple.